to your daily game face. I am Dr. Kim Lannon here on April 15th, tax day, day from hell, tax day for people. See, we usually have a reprieve of this in Massachusetts because usually the marathon, which is not till Monday the 20th this year in Boston, falls on tax day usually. And so usually we get an extra day.
I always extend anyway.
And so do I.
Yeah.
So I don't have time because the marathon, it's always around the marathon. Today's gonna be a marathon day, literally. Because the marathon always falls in April and it's right on tax day almost all of the time in all the years I've run it, I always have to extend because I don't have time to do work, fundraise, run, take care of all the things I do, and do taxes.
Do you get a marathon extension? No, you have a regular extension.
No,
right?
I just get the regular to October. And I usually get it right down to the wire. Take the extension. I always tell people in my own practice, take the extension and get it done really quickly. And I get it done 2 days before October.
That's what I always intend to do, but it never happens that way.
I work on it. It's a work in progress. Like I could have had it done, but that's just extra work that I didn't want to do. So anyway, so happy day. We had an 87-degree day here yesterday.
I know.
I went for a run in it and I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. This is a lot. And so then today, right now, it's a beautiful day again.
Yep.
And if we're looking at the weather, which we shouldn't for Marathon Monday, because people always say, what's the weather? And I've learned all my years of running marathons, which, by the way, this will be my 17th marathon.
Wow.
I believe.
Wow.
17. 12 Boston in a row, 17 altogether. And all of my marathons in Boston, the weather sucks. Although it was one year that wasn't. I think that was last year that the weather, I don't even remember. But 18 was the year of death. That was the year that they actually almost considered canceling it because the weather was so bad. And that was the year that I don't even remember seeing the course because I had my head down the whole time because it was pouring, snowing, sleeting, raining, sideways wind from like 45 miles an hour. It was bad. It was so bad. I almost ran into a median stanchion because I wasn't looking up because I was dripping rain down my face.
Well, as I think I've told you, I used to go to the Patriots Day game all the time.
No, not the Patriots Day game. The Red Sox.
Yeah, Red Sox Patriots Day game. The 11 o'clock.
Oh, I thought you meant like the New England Patriots. I'm seeing my head's in New England.
It used to be a tradition to go to the Patriots Day game, but the weather was just always sucked.
Yeah.
It's like, and then I decided I'm not going to Fenway before June 1st.
Oh, there we go. Well, it actually was good weather last year, which was my reprieve year from my gallbladder year. The year that I crawled to the start line and died. There's always something.
Could have been worse. Could have been out in the track.
Well, that was the thing. That was the debate. Do I go out and have to stop a mile in and then get helied out?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember that? It was like, do I get there and do I have to be helicoptered out?
Make the news.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. It's always something. Infamous me.
Do they helicopter people out? Where the hell do they land helicopters? Yeah.
On the top of the Mass General.
Okay, there, yeah.
You know, things like that. But I don't know. I mean, there's certainly, I've never seen anyone helied out from the marathon, but I have seen many a person go down.
Yep.
Hard. And I've seen people have strokes. I've seen people get hypothermic and go backwards and be crawling backwards down the course in Boston. I have seen people trip and fall, including myself, because I was tripped. Bleeding. I've seen black eyes. I've seen people, well, everybody pees themselves because that's a thing, which I won't talk about, but that's normal. I've seen people poop themselves. I've seen people bleeding from their nipples.
We've seen worse, and today's the anniversary too.
Yes, I know. So
what, 13 years now?
Yes, 13 years. So speaking of that, I mean, for people that are listening that didn't know that I was at the bombing, it's one of the most bizarre feelings now, and I don't know if that's even the right word. I wasn't going to talk about this, but because you brought it up, now it's like, oh, that just triggered it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was 80 feet-ish, 82 feet off the first bomb at the finish line in the year of the bombing. And so I was, you know how I take my respite for the last month and I go train in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
And I just happened to turn on the TV in my little lovely bungalow condo that I live in. and Patriots Day comes up. Now in the movie Patriots Day and in the documentary that they made of the Boston Marathon, I'm like in the opening scene. And I didn't know that when they made it. So
literally footage?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Footage of the bomb going off, and you see my hair blow back and you see me turn. And so I'm getting chills talking about it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Having a little moment. So and then so in both the documentary, I'm in the documentary a couple times, and then I'm in like the movie, I think twice, at the beginning and at the end. So it's very surreal. It's very weird. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. And so it triggers thoughts that I don't typically have throughout the year unless I hear a loud bang or something like that. Because obviously I think I have a little trauma from that. A lot of people do, because if you were anywhere within that collateral area, which a lot of people were, because people were sitting in the stands, people were obviously Boylston Street is always lined with tons of people. But there's something, I don't know how to fully describe it, what it feels like. And people ask me all the time, especially when we come into the box. So it's like on everybody's mind, like, what was it like? And, it's kind of like, don't ask people, how many, people they've killed at war, kind of things. Right. Like, don't, but people do. And it's okay. I've gotten used to it now. So, but it's a weird moment, and there's no other word because I can't find the right word, but it's this weird, surreal thing. Even when I walk down, like I'll walk down the middle of the street this weekend to pick up my bib, and they close down Boylston so you can walk down it so that you can get to the finish line, take pictures before the race even happens, right? Like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's just a very, I don't know if it's like solemn. There's a peacefulness to it, but there's like this eeriness and sadness to it too. It's like all the things. And so I'm very open, obviously, if someone asks me to talk about it, but it just brings back all this stuff. So I certainly give due reverence to, Martin Richard and Lindsay and all the four people that died in the whole thing. And then there were so many people that didn't even get reported on that have were injured both mentally and physically that they didn't even report on. But you see it in the documentary for some of them. But people always talk about, Sean Collier, the police officer that got murdered by, the Jarnines, and so on. But the three that were killed at the site. So, and it was quite something because the bomber, the one that's still alive, Zokar, went right in front of me, right by me. And so I have a long story, which I won't go into, but my story's there. So it'll be part of my book someday. But it's a very interesting time. So it's like they play these things on TV right now because it's coming into it. It's highlighted. They put it on like the CNN special, like it's like everywhere. So I turn it on, I'm like, oh, and I know, the first 38 seconds or minute and 8 seconds, I'm going to see me. So forward. So it's
does it come to mind whenever you hit Boylston Street?
So it comes to mind. So on the 10th anniversary, it was very on my mind because when you went into Boston, they had extra security that year, which they always have now, but they have extra, and they had talk about helicopters. There were helicopters all weekend long flying over. There were security checkpoints that were way above and beyond what they had been doing before. I imagine that this year, given the state of the country, and from what I've heard from briefings coming through on the marathon, that it's elevated in terms of security.
I would imagine,
but when a fun fact that if people are listening that didn't know about this, is when you are along the route, the whole route is lined with police officers, and there's also embedded like Secret Service and Homeland Security and all kinds of different people. But when you come around the 6 mile stretch of Newton up through the hills and you're coming into Brookline and into Boston, there's snipers everywhere on the routes. So for people that don't know, it's very weird experience to know, one, that they're there, and also when you see them, because it's like, I've done other marathons and that's not the thing. So when you're in Boston and you're running along and you come in and you see the Citgo sign, and you also see like men standing with very large, AK-47s. It's it's a thing. It's it's like, it feels like when you're walking through London Heathrow Airport.
Oh yeah, really, yeah.
It's
That's
like,
a whole nother thing. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like that. And so it's an oddity. They try to do a really good job of keeping it kind of on the down low, but I'm hyper vigilant on it because I'm always mindful and watchful. And so anyone out there that's doing the marathon this weekend, if you've never done it, be mindful of your surroundings.
Don't be wound up. It's extra peace.
It's what?
It's extra peace.
It's extra peace. It's
security,
there for security, and and they're. I know that they. I know that the NEMLEC people and the people that watch over all the credible threats and everything. I mean, I know some of them work for them for years, and they sort of keep me informed of the deal, which I'm very fortunate that I have some insider trading on that, because I'm like, I want to know, because if it's a credible threat, I'm thinking I'm going to go have some coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
And maybe forego that. People always ask me, what would make you not run? And I say that would make me not run the bear, unless I'm like deathly ill. The only thing that would make me not run the Boston Marathon or do it is like a credible threat. And people have said, I'll still run anyways. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not taking the chance, especially now.
Yeah, can imagine.
And we are a target.
Yes.
Because so it's a weird thing. It's such a weird thing to even think about or talk about. And, I'm all upbeat about it. And in terms of like the marathon, and it's exciting and it's wonderful. And right now the weather's looking really good for us, and like all the perfect things, which I was talking about before, which I got sidetracked on the whole, like seeing myself on TV in a different way. But it's just, it's exciting, but then it's that other piece is sitting there. And so many people, I mean, year after year, there's 33,000 of us, I think, usually, roughly. I think there's 33,000 this year. Most of us we're all returners. So we were there.
Yep.
So it's not like, it's new, there's a lot of new people too, but like the one,
it's not theory.
It's like we've all been there. We were all there. We all, we all have a story, either we were 2 miles out or we were right at the finish line, or we were,
Yep. I
just happen to know I was like 82 feet. There's the reason why I say 80 or 82 is because there's a debate between me and John of how far by a couple feet. It's 82, it's 85, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. And luckily John had gone into the Marathon Sports Store, which is right across, like right where the first bomb went off, like right there where the window you see, right? Yeah. And he had just been in that store. He had just gone in because it got cold at 2:30 that afternoon. And it started getting windy. So he went in to get himself a beanie, and literally he came out and it was like a couple minutes later and boom.
Yeah.
So anyone ever interested in hearing my story, I'm happy to tell you it, but I'm not going to do it on air right now because I'll probably end up like crying.
Yeah.
Not because I'm like, it just starts. It happens. It's just like tearful.
Sure.
See,
Must be traumatic.
I feel it right now. Like, it's like, okay, we're going to stop talking about that. But anyway, so this brings me to a point of, oh my God, in the past week, people have like flurried in on sending donations.
Nice.
And that is such a big deal to why I run this race. And on top of it, this morning on the Today Show, of all things, right? They had this huge thing on the Cleveland Clinic did a research study on when you do volunteerism like this is, and you do philanthropy work like I do, how it actually adds years to your life by up to 10 plus years if you start early in life and you do, because you're giving back, you get all the self-confidence, you get like the accomplishments, all those things. So the benefit of you all helping me is a safety and resiliency protector for you, because that helps build years to your life. But then when I'm doing what I'm doing, it's doing that. So it's like, it was like, it's like it all falls in line. It's like
to buy a couple of years of life, make a donation.
Yeah. Yes. So buy a couple of years of life, make another donation. It was awesome. I have someone that listens, and you know how I say, give every dollar counts, every $20, $5, $100. He gives me $20 here and there. And this week he gave me $4, and it goes right to it. Yep. He's like, I got $4 on me extra, so I'm giving it to you. And people think it's like funny, but remember Chris DeOrio that I had on? Remember the $1 that he got from the homeless woman he was so excited. Every dollar counts. So those $4 that lovely man gave me this week are going right to the New England Patriots Foundation. and we're going to stay away from, everyone keeps asking me about Mike Vrabel. I just can't. I'm like, can't we just have some like peace? It's like, please do not associate me with all the scandals that always come out. Like everybody has scandal. Just stay away from me. Yeah. Like,
I know.
Like,
it's like we need this right now.
I know. We were doing so well. Why do we need to hold hands with another married woman? Ah, God. She quit. Anyway.
Yep.
But it's going to come up. So I just put the monkey out there in the room. Just be like, there it is. It's bouncing. There it is.
I hadn't intended to follow it, but you can't help it.
Well, because it's on the news all the time now, right? It's like the guy that got caught on the cam with
the Coldplay
cam. It's the same thing. It's like you're sitting in a pool, wherever you guys were. You were holding hands. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And you can't spin that any other way. So poor her and poor Mike, and they made their bed, so to speak. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard. I only am getting what I see. But, don't worry about that. Just give to the New England Patriots Foundation, which is me. You're giving to me to help other people, because all of my money that I raise, which, by the way, I've raised over $20,000 because people have been doing such awesome support this year. It's the most I've ever raised in 1 year. It's been an epic year for that. Not epic training year, as we know, because I still have a broken toe, but it's much better. I can run on it and I don't have to buddy tape it.
Okay, cool.
So we'll see how that goes at mile 24.
Yeah, exactly.
Right after the up and downs of all the hills that they say that they always say, this course is flat. This course is not flat. So for everyone that's new to the Boston Marathon, no, it's not flat course. And it does have a net drop, no net gain going up, but it does going down. For it. But you pay for it. Your quads pay for it. Your hamstrings, your calves pay for it, because essentially people always say, oh, it's so much easier going down. Well, if you haven't trained your quads, it's not. So that's always a lovely thing. Mm-hmm. Or your toes, because if you haven't been used to running downhill and your toes are slamming into the top of your shoes. But anyway, going back to...
Is that a specific part of your training? A downhill element?
Yes. Yeah. Up and down.
Yeah.
So that's why I go up and do the mountain training, because I get like an extra elevation drop. And I go for miles on it just to practice putting the brakes on to get my quads to not die. And people are always like, why do you go up there to train? And I'm like, that's why.
Uphill, downhill.
It's uphill, downhill.
Yeah.
It's not as big a deal for the uphill. That's not my problem. It's the downhill on the Boston Marathon course is a ripper.
Yeah.
Because, Heartbreak Hill is 4 hills. So for people that really don't care but are listening, I'm going to tell you anyways. It's Heartbreak Hill is 1 hill. The actual Heartbreak Hill is the last hill of the 4 of this long stretch through Newton. You turn the corner at the fire station, as we call it, and then you have basically 5 mile, like a 4.5 mile like stretch of hill, and you get to the top, and then you have this massive drop off of Boston College. It's like downhill, like huge downhill. And then you have 4 more rolling hills after that to get into Boston. And they always say it's flat. As soon as you cross over the hill at BC, it's flat. No, it is not. So it's very deceiving. So I always love watching newbies on Friday when you go in to get the bib, but talking about it because they have a course run through. Good morning, John's here. They So I don't ever disclose where I'm running, and then John does. Thanks, John.
I was wondering, because King of Mangus doesn't seem down, but I had never paid attention to it.
Well, now that everyone knows that that's what I'm doing, because now you can come out and stalk me.
On occasion.
Well, the King of Mangus
don't stalk you.
It's very quiet out there. It's like going into deliverance land. Like, John's like, there's no cell service. So he'll like drive like 5 miles out, wait for me to get there. He's always like, where is she? Because I'm the only thing out there. There's nothing, me and the bears. So, now I'm all over the place. Now you got me going on 5 different things.
It's actually a consideration in the winter. Like when I'm going through there, I hesitate going through there in the winter.
Why? Well, you're not going over Bear Notch Road because Bear Notch Road is closed.
No, I know, but I mean just the King of Mangus in general.
Yeah. So
because there's no cell service and there's nothing there.
Right. Well, however, your Spotify works.
Well, thank God.
My Spotify works very beautifully on that mountain, no problem. But I can't get cell service to call for help.
Yeah.
So, Okay, where was I?
You said it was going to be all over the place.
I did. I said today was going to be a bounce. I was talking about running downhill. Oh, because I go up. I'll go up like 10 miles up, get dropped off, and then I'll run down.
Okay.
And it's all downhill.
Yep.
So downhill and windy, which I learned a lesson a couple weeks ago that I was running on the wrong side of the downhill on a pitch, and it strained my Achilles on one side. I was like, oh, here we go. So yes, I've never run a Boston Marathon and not had an injury. I've run the Boston Marathon on a fractured. Well, this year's gonna be on a fractured toe. But what is he saying? I'm not even reading what he's saying. Oh my god. Oh my god. He's so awful. Get off, John. Nobody wants to hear from you today.
I do.
Okay, Lou does. But I've run with a hip issue. I've run with a fractured shin 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
2 years in a row with a fractured shin.
To the point you know what I say about marathoners?
We're all crazy.
You're all crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Des Linden, who's won the Boston Marathon, she's running ultra marathons, 100 miles now. That I always said I would never do a marathon, and now I'm saying I'm never doing an ultra marathon.
That's pathological.
But anyway, so I know what I was saying. So the giving back. Yes. We were talking about the New England Patriots. So
adds years to your life.
It adds years to your life, but also the fact that it's exciting because there's 16 people on my team, and we are the feeder for the MVP awards for the New England charities, the 25 charities that get these big donations every year from us. And we give a big luncheon with the Patriots that we go to, and we give away the awards. And right now the admissions process is open. If you'd like to submit a charity who would be chosen, we usually get about 300 or 400 applications. You go onto newenglandpatriotsfoundation.com or .org. And you look for the application for the Myra Craft MVP award, and it's $10,000 to all the runners up and $25,000 to the one big charity that gets it for being chosen for the one for the year. It's every year it's different. It's all of New England is included. So there's people from Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and if you know that New York is not New England, so because someone asked me, well, why isn't New York included? I said, that's Mid-Atlantic. So got to know your geography.
Not New England.
So, not New England.
Neither is Connecticut. But that's all another story.
I know, but they add Connecticut in for whatever. It's close enough, right? But it's very cool because the stories are amazing and all the money directly goes. So when you give your money, it's not like, some of I won't name the charities, but it's 10% goes to, 100% of everything I raise this year. So that means either all the money I raise this year technically is going to go to the big winner, or it's going to at least go to two and change of two of the winners. It's so awesome and so satisfying that all of you actually get to be a part of that, because I've had people give me $1,000 and $2,000 and $50, $100 and $300. Like, it's all part of it.
Makes a community.
It's such a great thing. And I have some teammates that have gotten like straight out donations for $25,000 and straight out donations for $15,000, and that's great. Mine's a village, and I love that. I love that mine's a village, and it takes a village, and it is. And on Marathon Monday, one of the most exciting things is there's people out on the course all over the place that come out for all of us, but for me in particular. And it takes a village because people go out and prep food for me, and people have extra socks, tape, spray, magnesium. I mean, I got it. You name it, I've got it out on the course. And people are always like, how do you get through that? And I'm like, oh, I got peeps. I got my peeps. So it's very cool. It's very exciting. And so if you still want time to donate, you have it, because we're open for donations all the way till the 30th of April. But I'm always of the mind of, I'm not greedy. I'm just saying, hey, you're helping people out. Yeah. And so, and I'm certainly going to do it again next year. So, if you can't do it this year, no problem. You can always help me out next year. But right now we are still open on my link or Venmo until the 30th of April. And I'm going to be posting up on all social media, especially. We just had the team dinner the other night, and it was a lot of fun, and it's exciting. So I'll probably be posting up some of that stuff too. So, and maybe I'll post up from the course unless it's freezing and raining, and then I won't be posting up from the course. Okay. And then moving along, so many things,
yes,
because we're in the year of Rise, but I had a question from a listener a few weeks ago, and I had to go back. So it actually doesn't have anything to do with rise per se, but it does. It has to do with your health. It's more scientific and health related.
Okay.
So on the switch over from my of talking about me, so there was a question I must have talked, I think, a while ago about kind of like just nutrition and gut biomes and like microbiomes and other things like that. And so the question came in about sort of like, cravings and your gut biome and so on and so forth. And my answer to him, if I had written it, would have been very long and extensive. And I figured, you know what, I can make it so that everyone can hear it, right? So we can talk about it. So when we talk about the gut microbiome, that's a big thing right now. Everyone's talking about it because people are, doing a lot of the GLP-1s and all those other things. But because of that, I mean, it's the gut microbiome is often talked about in different types of endocrinology office and other, hormone replacement therapies and all that. But because of all the new stuff out for weight loss and for nutrition and people being hyper focused on their health, it's come more into fashion. So first, it's true that the gut microbiome, which is like it's like the little area or the community of bacteria that lives in your digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like in your stomach. It's like the whole digestive system. It's basically heavily shaped by what you eat. You have to know that there's got to be a balance. So when people have indigestion or they end up with GERD or they end up with gastrointestinal tract issues, or like they have, esophageal back reflux or things like that, it's usually because of one, stress causes some of that, but also the gut microbiome, the bacteria is usually off in some way. Certainly, you can, I talk about it a lot with clients in terms of their anxiety and stress, dumping cortisol and what that does to the pH level and the different balances of different chemicals in the stomach and how they regulate, like serotonin. We have a lot of neurotransmitters in our stomach, right? So, or in our digestive tract. So it's, your mood regulator, your anxiety regulator. So serotonin, GABA, norepinephrine, like you've got all those things going on. So what you eat impacts those things. So here we are with caffeine, right? So that's a perfect example. Caffeine and sugar, they change the gut microbiome a lot because they activate or they take away from whatever's going on in there, depending on the person, especially if you have anxiety or if you have like a mood related disorder.
Always good or always bad? Speaking caffeine and sugar.
Not always good or always bad. It's sort of like if it's excess, it's going to be a problem. Like I was with a client earlier today talking with them about already. It's only 10:30 and I've already had like a whole day. Talking about they were taking vitamin B complex, and they're taking it at night. And I was saying, don't take it at night because at night it goes to your gut. So what it does is it regulates your mood, elevates, it acts like a stimulant. So if you're, the whole goal is take it in the morning so that it lifts your brain fog. It lifts it gives you focus and things like that. So we ended up saying my recommendation was we come off of all the B and just stay with B12 because I think it was too much for this person. And it was overactivating the person because it was creating, she's already an anxious person. So it's creating more anxiety in her because it was probably overloading her system. Right. Okay. So as loosely here, because obviously it's not giving the whole story, but right. So diets high in processed food, here we go. Right. Diets high in processed food, sugar, and low fiber. So basically terrible diet. Tend to promote a very different unhealthy mix of microbes in your gut and in your digestive tract that vegetable, fruits, and fermented foods and whole grains and proteins don't. So when you're a McDonald's eater, pizza, crackers on the fly, lots of Red Bulls, like all that. Those are the things that are going to make your gut biome not so good, right? So when you're eating things that are, your microbes will come off of, your good microbes will come off of diets that have rich vegetables, that are not overly smashed to death with you don't cook all the nutrients out of them, right? You have whole grain meaning you're not eating white bread, white pasta, right? You're eating real grains like quinoa, or anything that's not like cracked and processed, right? And then obviously fermented foods are super good for your gut biome for pH balance. So if you like kimchi, you like cabbage, pickled cabbage, obviously, anything that has sauerkraut, anything that's in that fermented stage. Now, a person, when I talked to them about this a couple of weeks ago, said, "Oh, well, I eat deli meat." Well, deli meat is processed, right?
Cured and fermented are two different things.
Right, yeah. Exactly. So, and they actually with genuineness thought that that was it's fermented. But that's not what that means. So just because you eat deli meat and it's cured or hickory smoked or anything like that, that's actually carcinogenic. So we're adding a whole different thing when we put in hickory smoke. Doesn't mean that you can't eat it, but just be mindful that, and of course that can change your gut biome, right? So, because there is no perfect. So where it gets really interesting in terms of my stuff, my science, my psychology is where the gut and the brain have a connection, right? Like the polyvagal system, right? The polyvagal or the vagal nerve regulates from brain to gut, right? So it's your microbiome is in all of that, and it can influence your mood, your cravings, and your reward signaling. So that means like your dopamine pathways. That's why when we eat mashed potatoes, we're like, oh, this is wonderful. Or we eat that piece of chocolate cake, or the banana cream pie that I had last weekend that was so good.
They're called comfort foods for a reason.
That's right, because and so the more of those you eat, right, because your gut and your brain are talking, the more of those kinds of foods you eat, the more you're going to want. And as you've heard in previous shows that I've talked about, a lot of our foods that are processed overseas, they process them for overseas for themselves without all the chemicals that they add. But for here, they add in all the stuff that makes people crave more and eat more and buy more.
Yep.
It's a marketing strategy. Please hold while I have a sip of my crappy drinks. It makes my gut biome probably scream. Oh, great. Did you just see that?
I just didn't see it till you looked down.
Oh, my God.
Didn't notice it till you looked down.
Well, we won't talk about it. Okay. Okay. So it's not that healthy food isn't recognized in the gut, right? It's your gut doesn't reject or get like, it doesn't not acknowledge that you have healthy food, right? It's you digest it and benefit from it in a very different way than processed food.
Okay.
And so they're very distinct in terms of how they manage like cravings, the dopamine rewards, the mood, right? So if you ever notice, that's why we talk about like ADHD in kids. Now, it's kind of a misnomer that, give kids sugar and, sugar is a stimulant, right? But it's also about how does the body process it? How does it metabolize? Is it natural sugar versus, is it grapes and bananas and apples and things like that versus Twizzlers and Twix bars and all the things, right? So both are going to be processed, but they're going to be processed in very different ways. And one's going to reward the pathway for dopamine, your pleasure center, your happiness place, in a very different way. And one's going to pull for you to have more cravings than the other and change your mood. So if someone regularly is eating high processed, high sugar, high fat food, their brain reward system just becomes trained into and conditioned into just needing and wanting those intense stimuli, because those types of foods and items just are so intense for the body that it just builds that steady state of I want, I need. So that's how food becomes an addiction. And that's where obesity comes from, right? Because you have that, it's just like alcoholism. It's just like, opiate addiction. It's just like you build up the bad habit, so to speak, loosely termed, the bad habit, the conditioned response to these intense stimuli. So then you need more because more is more, right? Yep. So it's not just a scoop of mashed potatoes, it's the entire container. It's, so it's very much that. So these foods that are like that, they trigger strong dopamine drip. They're just like, it's almost like if I could think of like you're turning on a faucet of dopamine when you're eating those foods.
Yeah.
And And that's there's a little spot in your brain called the hypothalamus that's regulating all of that. And that's in your emotional center. And so what it does is it associates to that emotional center to keep it going. And so when you eat that kind of stuff, and especially like when people drink, a lot of like alcohol, and then they eat those comfort foods on top of it, your microbiome in your gut is just screaming because you're on dopamine drip all the time.
Yep.
And then it's, you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? You go right back to it. You have the bagel, you have the cheese, you have the, an hour later, you want something else. And you have macaroni and cheese, and you have a piece of pizza with like a bite of lettuce. And then by 5 o'clock, you're having a glass of wine and you're eating pasta. Like This is what people do. And then they don't realize that over time, those unnatural foods, those foods that don't process well, those foods that build up in your system created a whole, like, if you're watching, it's like from your chin down to your, like to your pelvis bone, essentially, that whole area, everything in between is just going, it's screaming because it inflames.
Yep.
Right. So alcohol inflames, starchy foods inflame, it doesn't mean you can't eat those things. You have to be moderate. Right. And you can't overdo it because the brain adapts to that. And, then the microbiome becomes used to that and it needs it to function. Yeah. But then people start taking omeprazole and then Prilosec and Tagamet because they can't get their microbiome in check, but they don't want to give up the foods.
Right.
Hence the addiction because they're in the dopamine drip. I mean, it's a very vicious, it's a chaos loop, right? So when I talk about relationships, this is poor relationship with food that creates creates the microbiome that's screaming at you as if it's your partner, right? You're in a love affair with your food items, right?
It's true, yeah.
Right. So the microbiome ends up, in my professional opinion and anecdotally noting, right? I'm sure I could find the research on it, but just in my 31 years of doing this, the microbiome influences cravings. May or may not, but by and large it does, right? Because of what I just said, that loop that you train it. So we do know that like some evidence suggests that gut bacteria prefers certain nutrients because of what it's being fed, right? And then it will send a signal through the vagus nerve, that little nerve I always talk about, right, that regulates. It sends a signal through your vagus nerve and your hormones and your endocrine system, which is your hormone system, and your adrenal gland and other things that influence what you will feel like eating.
Get me the mac and cheese.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're used to being on that, like that train every day, that's what it's going to be.
Get me a Dunkin' refresher.
I know
that's what I'm battling right now.
I know. I'm watching you. I see it.
No, this is tea.
Oh, it looked like a refresher.
No, I'm battling. I'm trying to get away from the refreshers.
Well, so that's a good example because the refreshers, for people that don't know, but I think a lot of people do because I know most people do, the refresher, and I think I talked about this off air with you last week. If you're going to get a refresher, you don't do the lemonade because the lemonade it's just full of sugar. Do the green tea and get like a little splash of the refresher stuff. What happens when they make it normally is they put half of the cup is the refresher mix, which is sugar and junk and processed and whatever. And then they put the green tea in. So if you want that little splash of whatever, what is it? Mango, pineapple, or I don't know what it is, but it's that taste or that refresher taste, then you just need to use a little splash of it.
But here's a good example of that, because when I first started drinking these years ago, I always used to challenge them, make me complain that there's not enough refresher in here. I just want the taste, just a splash of it.
Right.
And then I do the refresher now, and then I try to go, I'll go back to half. I'll go to less concentrate. And I had one, I goes, this is no good. So my whole dynamic with it has changed.
But you just made the point of everything I've talked to this point is like you have trained and conditioned to the intensity of what your microbiome was calling for. And because it sends a system message to the brain and the stomach between the vagal nerve to regulate it, now you have a craving for the other thing, the more.
So when I got the less concentrated, it looked at me and said, what, are you kidding me?
Right. Because you didn't get the dopamine drip. Right. It's like taking, it's like if loose comparison here, but it's like an opiate addiction and someone's taking, I'm careful of like having a lot. And then all of a sudden does half. it's not going to do anything.
Nope.
It's like, oh, that's disappointing. Great. Because you're not getting the same dopamine drip. So it's the same thing. So when we prefer certain nutrients, well, we have to train our gut and our brain by eating better things to get our gut biome back into check, right? So we prefer other nutrients, right? So that's what lifestyle change is.
Yeah.
It makes it so that you don't have the cravings for that, but it's addiction. So,
but it's a path. You don't just flip a switch.
No,
you've got like I'm fighting the cravings.
Well, and that's right. So if your microbiome is adapted to eating high sugar, which that is, right? Yeah. High sugar, low fiber, minimal protein, which I think half my clientele is like that, right? And they eat all that stuff where I can't tell you how many people just sit and drink Red Bulls all day. They're just right? You're going to crave more of those foods, even if it's not just the refresher. It's going to make you crave more of those foods, and it's going to feel less, you're going to feel less likely drawn to the things that would be healthy and good and the good choice, because one, your brain dopamine wise knows it's no fun. Your brain's like, it already automatically looks at carrots, cake, cake, right? Exactly, I mean, it's in it without even thinking about it, because the vagal nerve sends the signals and regulates, because the brain automatically knows, like like Pavlov's dog, stimulus response. It knows that is going to be a reward versus a carrot, because carrots are boring, right? So, so taste perception, interesting concept. Taste perception can actually change, right? So diets affect taste receptors, and we don't think of that because people usually don't think scientifically when they're eating or they're emotionally eating, right? But your taste buds or your taste receptors have perception, and they have associative perception. So high sugar intake, shocker, right? High sugar intake can reduce the sensitivity to sweetness, because it gets used to it, right? It's diffusion, right? And so high salt and high fat intake can shift what tastes normal into something that sometimes tastes blah, which is why you'll see people add extra salt, because they've tapped out. So now because their gut biome is in addiction, and it's saying, essentially, there's no salt there. Which is, for people, you'll taste something like, oh my God, this has so much salt in it. And other people will be like, it doesn't taste salty at all. That's a prime example of where that the taste perception has changed, or like, oh, it's not sweet to me. But, some people are like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
And you can restore it, but it takes work.
Oh my God. Well, right. Because you have to, it's like anything else. The healthier foods that you're replacing it with have to then take over the perception of the taste buds. Those are actually okay as you wean out. And
I mean, people cut sugar or salt, and they get to a point where, well, that's really salty. You can get back there, but it takes work to get back there.
And it takes work, because your body, your mind, and your gut, it's the little gut bacteria that are actually sending signals saying, this isn't fun. This isn't satisfying. This is boring. So when that happens, this is, God, this is such a January thing, right? It's in January when everyone all of a sudden cold turkeys and goes to like, I'm going to eat healthy. And their body's going, wait a second. I just finished like cake and quiche and croissant and prime rib and au jus sauce that was so salt, like
candy cone
and
peeps.
Oh God, Easter peeps. Right. So it's that side of things that it has to shift, and people try to shift so fast that one of the reasons why January 14th becomes the tap out day is the shift became so fast that the body's going, I want this other thing so bad. And so it bypasses what would be recognizable in the gut biome to say, oh, this is actually good. And this is going to be tasting really good. So I always try to tell people to go especially for mood regulation. How much protein are you eating? If you start eating protein, especially right in the morning, like eggs, even if you eat chicken, people are like, why? I mean, if you go to Europe, meat is the start of the day. We meat and eggs. So people will hear it's like cereal, toast, French toast, pancakes. Like if you go to meat and eggs, that's going to give you satisfaction.
Yep.
And that's a great way to start the whole like microbiome switch over, because you're going to be less likely than 4 or 5 hours later. By the way, you're going to be full longer.
Yep.
So you're not going to crave a bagel.
Protein is a great tool.
Yeah. Protein is a great tool and great start. So by the time you're supposed to have lunch, well, you might not be as hungry, and you're less likely, because you're changing the gut biome already, you're less likely to go for that slice of pizza. You'll go for something else.
Right.
And that's why it takes, time. So yes, it's reversible, because obviously lifestyle changes, make it reversible. So there is an encouraging part to like the gut biome thing here, is that, within days, I say that loosely again, within days, depends on how bad the addiction is, right? In the gut. But within days to weeks, changing the diet will shift the microbiome to respond in the way that it was when you weren't doing that, right? Okay. And within weeks to months, usually it takes like 3 to 4 weeks to start it. Taste perception, that's the big thing. Taste perception and cravings will often adjust and start stopping missing that stuff, right? Yeah. So and many people start to find that whole foods are more flavorful over time because they get away from the processed foods. I was talking about this in my class last week, because one of the groups did a class. They did a presentation for my class on exercise and food and stuff like that. And we were talking about how whole foods are so much more flavorful when you get away from things that are not from a box, out of a can. And I made the point to say, if it's not from the ground and it's not natural, then you shouldn't be eating it, because we're not made to process that. All those things on the box. If
it's got an ingredients list,
right? If we're not made to process that stuff, and so it's just not that way.
Chicken doesn't have an ingredients list. It's chicken.
Depends on who makes the chicken.
Yeah. What?
Well, some people put antibiotics in but yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So being able to replace things essentially to change the microbiome is what you're trying to do, so that you have like that consistent feeling. So the bottom line is, your microbiome is craving healthy food. It wants it. It's genetically lined for that. It's hardwired for it. We want healthy foods. We just train it into not. So it's not that it's going to reject you, but sometimes people will say, "Oh, I can't eat that because it makes me have GERD." I'm like, maybe because it has, like tomatoes, maybe it has acid, but cucumbers, no. Things that are maybe like less acidic, right? So, but it's better than eating a bag of Tostitos.
Yes.
And people will say, I ate flaming hot Tostitos and I was fine, but then I ate tomato, and I'm like, it's not the tomato. It's the microbiome screaming back at you saying, this isn't what I want, and it doesn't feel good. It's not, certainly people have allergies to those things, or people can't eat certain things, but it's not because of that. Typically it's because the microbiome is so used to being in addiction to the other thing that it gets all muddied in there. Right. So
my impression is this is amplified for adolescents. Is that a fair comment?
I think that probably yes, because of just how their lifestyle is in general. I mean, unless you come from a household that is heavily.
No, but they tend to go off the rail with foods.
Well, they do. Yeah. And they're in a lot of the teenagers I see and know are on the fly a lot. So they eat on the fly. So their lifestyle is, unless they're packing their own stuff and or mom or dad is.
But often they're on the fly to get mac and cheese.
Well, they're on mac and cheese, French fries, nachos, things like that. I see. So in my town where I do my private practice, they have a half day every Wednesday, and every Wednesday
it's a festival.
And they all in the high school is literally a walking distance from this great deli, Five Guys, McDonald's, like Starbucks, and they flock. It's like from noon to 3, I stay away from everything.
Yeah.
Because they flock to all those places, and they all go sit and they have French fries, mac and cheese. Like they don't get all the good pizza. They go and they all hang out. I know that I know the school system still provides that as well. Like it's I call it chicken puck Friday, pizza Friday.
Yep.
It's always mac and cheese on the menu. Like, so they're always providing that because they tout it as cheese is healthy. I just laugh.
I don't know about powdered cheese, but
powdered or Velveeta, not cheese, but nonetheless, right? So, but yes, I would say adolescents, teenagers, they definitely set themselves up for a microbiome issue, and then you get into like your early 20s, and you've got, Prilosec coming. And you can't use that all the time. And by the way, people that use omeprazole, Prilosec, those things, you have to be careful because our studies show that can lead to Alzheimer's using that excessively. And I've known people that use it like that's their daily crutch. It's like, I can eat anything I want as long as I have my Prilosec. I'm like, oh man, that is not good. Right. That's telling you that your microbiome is in addiction, and it has something going on. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't go to your regular doctor or to someone that can test you for like gluten allergy or something else, because something else could be going on, but still being mindful of this as a base, right? Because both your brain reward system and your gut microbes, right, can make healthy food feel really good, or it can make unhealthy food feel more rewarding if that's what you're used to. So you have to pick your hard, because your reward system, your dopamine system, and your microbes that you've trained, because they're talking all the time, they're saying, give me unhealthy food, or they're saying, give me healthy food. And that's the key there.
But to your point, there are fewer choices. I mean, if you're out,
right,
if you're not cooking at home,
right,
it's hard to get healthy.
Right. And well, here's the thing. I have found that because we have become such a culture as of late of more healthy, there are many more healthy items out there that you can pick from, way more than there used to be. We'll go, use Chili's or Applebee's. I mean, they all put their calorie counts down on them. Now, I've seen, even since I started doing the show 6 years ago, I've seen a huge change. Because remember, I used to make fun of like the fact that like, you could order like a burger and something else at Chili's or whatever, and it was like 2,600 calories before you even finish that meal. And now you can get a piece of grilled chicken with like sauteed mushrooms and onions and broccoli and a little side of mashed potatoes, and the whole thing's 560 calories. That's all satisfying. Go for that.
Yeah.
And now they have Impossible burgers. They have like all kinds of other things that are good and good replacements, so that your microbes and your brain reward system are like, oh, I got a little piece of cheese. I got my hamburger. I didn't eat a roll because we don't eat rolls.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But that reward system talked to the microbes and said, oh, and your microbes in your gut go, oh, this is good. But it's a training thing.
Yep.
So when we start doing that little changeover, it makes everything feel more appealing in the gut, and the gut is happier. And the more we do it, the more it adapts, the more permanent it becomes. Just like the other way, if you're eating processed stuff, it just trains it that way. So
but it's not flipping a switch. It takes some time to get there.
Well, yeah, and that's why I said, in days, and I laughed, or weeks. It's really, I mean, if you've been doing something for 30 years, let's just take a 30-year-old, and you've been eating, say, 15 out of their 30 years, or most of your 30 years with unhealthy foods, and then here and there, you're going to end up feeling like it's a lot harder. I can't tell you how many people, and I will push this today for sure. You must be drinking water. Your microbes in your body, in your gut, speak to your brain, and your brain needs to be hydrated so that you have appropriate functioning. I can't tell you how many people don't drink water.
Yeah.
I want to say I have like 400 something clients a month, right? I want to say at least 75% of them, I could ask, how much water did you have today? And unless they're following like my program that I'm doing with them because they're on a GLP-1 or something, most of them say none. Yeah. Like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I'm in that group.
Oh, Lou.
But no, I'm sitting here with the tea. Isn't that hydration?
No, because
it's got to be just water.
It's caffeinated. So anytime you have anything with caffeine in it, you have to add in 8 ounces of water.
Okay.
So, no.
Got to do water.
Well, and it can be, so here's the thing, because water, I know people are like, water's so boring, right? That's why they make, if you like seltzer water, get flavored seltzer water. If you don't like seltzer water, get flavored non-additive sucralose, no fake sugar, but get the waters that have flavor in them. They make, Bai water, BAI makes that water. Vitamin water makes that water with none of that stuff in it. So it has like dragon fruit, grape, pomegranate, blueberry. I hate grape. I just thought grape is gross. Like grapes, but not fake grapes taste. But you can change it up. And also you can get water content from food. You can get it from, I just had this conversation with someone yesterday, like watermelon, strawberries, berries, kiwi, apples. Like you have not a ton of watermelon, yes, and like muskmelon and regular melon, but water content can come from other things, spinach. So you don't just have to sit and just drink gallons of water. But if so if you're 200 pounds, you need to be having 100 ounces of water a day, because your body needs that to be able to process your gut biome correctly. So you have to have that. But again, 75%, and I think that's an undershoot of my population, they don't drink water. And then I have like people that say like, oh, my kids, my 8-year-old says their legs hurt. And I'm like, how much water did they have today? And they're like, oh, my kid doesn't drink water. They don't like water. I'm like, what are they drinking? Soda, milk, there's no water in any of that. So what is it doing? All of soda, not milk, but soda is dehydrating. Diet soda is terrible for you. I have no shame admitting I was a Diet Coke junkie, right? Like it was like vein in, like it was there. But when I would finish the marathon, I would need a Snapple iced tea and a Diet Coke. That was what I would have. And now I'm like, because one, they both have sucralose, they have phenylalanine, they have all these chemicals in them that are terrible for you. They taste great. And people are like, oh, but they help me so that I don't gain weight. No, that is not true. That is actually not a truth. So diet doesn't mean you're on a diet. But water is super important. So if you have someplace to start today in terms of like, hey, here's your rise moment to elevate and evolve yourself, take some control over your water intake. And if you don't have any, put a glass of water in your day today. I don't care. I normally say go for, regular temperature, but if you need it with ice, that's fine. If you need to put lemon, cucumbers, basil, I don't care. Drink
basil.
Well, some people drink basil.
Okay.
Like basil rosemary water is delicious.
Okay.
It's fabulous. It's very refreshing. But see, I'm a water drinker, so so. And I highly recommend, if you don't have one of these scales, go get a scale that does the 20-point system that will weigh you. But most importantly, it will tell you how much protein's in your body. It will tell you how much water's in your body. It will it monitors the whole thing. That's an eye opener and a helpful change. It's like your little crutch buddy. That's a good crutch to monitor, because it will come up and say, you are low in water. And, you need to have, and then it will tell you, like, when it's good, it'll give you a green that it's good. So that's a whole nother show, but it helps show like where you're, like when I have it, because I'm working with people that are on their weight loss plans. So I'm keeping like their values on their 20-point scales. And so I can always see where like, oh, we lost water this week and this is why, or we're having trouble because we're down to 30% protein. That means you're not eating enough. Right. So I can register on it like by watching that. So that if you need something like that and not just eyeing it, that would be really good. So, but hopefully that answered my friends and listeners' question on the gut biome in short. I don't know if it did or not, but I'm sure.
Big subject.
I mean, that's why I was like, oh, I can't answer this in a text or in an email because it's just so long and it's got so many ins and outs. But I figured, generalizability here. But essentially, yes, cravings, yes, mood, yes, all the regulation. Yes, you can re-regulate it. You can train it. You can untrain it. You can relearn. You can, and obviously if you have a bigger problem with your gut and some kind of thing going on, certainly go to your primary care, certainly go to a specialist. This is from a psychological perspective, obviously, and my anecdotal evidence in working with clients for all the years, but it's worthy of the check, and obviously water and eating healthy, so that you can rise, so you can reset your mindset around what you're eating. You can integrate it. You can stand up for your body and take ownership, and then you evolve and grow because your body's going to thank you.
Put your body on your side.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. See, I knew I would tie it into rise. See,
you got there.
See how I did it?
Yep.
So anyway, okay. So Hopefully I'll be here next week. What? Well, next week, the marathon's Monday.
I know, I understand.
Hopefully I'll still be walking and standing.
You will be.
Mm-hmm. I have to be. I'm shooting a commercial on Tuesday after the marathon. Right. So I have to be functional on Tuesday.
Silly.
Why is it silly? That's when they scheduled the commercial. So for everyone, I'm filming
a commercial with marathon runners, and they're doing it the day after the marathon. What could go wrong?
I know. So I actually thought that. I was like, oh, this could be a really bad idea. I could be gimping. I'm going to have to be like still shots or something. Maybe Liz put me in a stationary spot so I can talk or something. Oh, John just informed us that it's April 15th today, as if he didn't hear the beginning of the show.
You got here late.
Oh, good Lord, John. We all know it's April 15th. Thank you. It's the anniversary day and it's tax day. We know. Thank you, John. We know. Okay. So I will be here next week, God willing. And the divine powers of all the energy of the earth make it to the end of the marathon, crawling, walking, rolling.
You'll get there.
I'll get there. It may be great and it may be ugly, but it will happen. And I'll be here with my beautiful 130th running of the marathon medal. It's going to be, I've seen the medal. It's beautiful this year. So anyway, and then we'll be on to our next part of Rise as we get ready to have women's retreat weekend in May that I need people to come to in May. So we'll talk about that. But everyone, you guys have a great week and wish me luck. Oh, my number, if you want to follow me, go to the BAA app, download it. It's free. My number is 28805, and it is live, but it only tracks and updates you that it's live every time I cross over a timing mat. The timing mats are on the 5K marks. So every time I cross, then it tells you where I am and then whatever. So people are always like, I lost you. It's like, well, that's because it's not like actually following you like a GPS real time. Right. It's only on the tracking mats. So have no fear. You'll see me come out of the gate probably way too fast, and then all of a sudden I'll slow down. So this is what always happens. So, all right, you guys have a great week, and thank you.